Blog Talk Radio.
All Pro Media Group Radio showcases professionals on a daily basis. Be inspired and listen to experts from around the globe share their accomplishments with you. APMG Radio, success at its finest.
You're listening to APMG Radio. I'm Lucy, and I am very pleased to welcome back to the show Henry Halladay. Henry, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
So, Henry, on our last show, we discussed very briefly about privacy and the sort of impact technology is having on our daily lives. Can you tell us a little bit about that and some of the issues that we're facing?
Okay, well, what I had in mind was was the conflict between privacy and security. And I'm not going to discuss today the government's role in that process, but just where do we personally stand with respect to exercising our rights to do things and yet not having intrusion. And particularly, for the moment, let's take a look at how do we pay for things. Mm-hmm. Well, certainly the most recognizable is cash. It gives us the best privacy because there's no traceability back to us, but at the same time, it's something that's very fluid, and the government is facing a lot of challenges in making it economical to make and produce money and also keep track of it. We're also seeing that other countries now are considering, rather than paper or metal, that they're considering plastic as a means of providing currency in their native countries. We've always had an issue, particularly in later years, and it costs more money to make the money than it is what it's worth. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to face that, and that gives us our best privacy and security as long as we carry it and protect it. But again, it's a matter of is it convenient, especially when we look at today's current smartphones. Smartphones gives us a way to perform transactions, and we don't have to carry money. But at the same time, we are able to take out loans. We can do our banking. We can make transactions, transfer money. But at the same time, how do we provide security? People are now looking at having fingerprints as being part of our phone. There's also voice prints. Almost all phones now have cameras, and one way to help provide security is to have either facial recognition or eye prints or something along those lines. But it's a matter of getting everyone to agree that that's a way to protect the transactions, but at the same time provide privacy that someone else cannot replicate. This goes along with what are the current credit card issues. Credit cards have become so dominant in our society, but they are very vulnerable. I can certainly tell you from my own experience that fraudulent use of the cards, because their numbers and our names exist out there, are vulnerable to attack. A particular instance of that is the experience that Target has recently experienced, where millions of people are being impacted. Mm-hmm. And one way around that is to have what's called a smart chip on our credit cards. The rest of the world is adopting that, but the United States has been very slow, particularly because of the fact that all of our transactions that are handled currently in retail outlets and other places are based on the magnetic strip. That magnetic strip is an unencrypted means of providing data, and thus makes it susceptible to intruders who can get a hold of it. And they're now looking at that. They've been looking at it for several years, but the expense of changing all the hardware, all the computing systems that deal with that to something that is less vulnerable makes our privacy certainly at risk. Other issues that are taking place is what do we do with the Internet and telephone purchases? How are they going to link into maintaining our privacy and yet giving us added security in these days of everyone is tracking us, not necessarily saying the government, but companies are doing that. Mm-hmm. This is something that is going to continue to be a challenge in the days that are upcoming. There's also another volatile monetary issue that's taking place, and that has to do with what they call bitcoins. This is totally a software-driven currency that is now starting to impact the market, primarily in those areas that have to do with gambling. I'd say, why do I say that? Well, Las Vegas. They're always looking for new ways to encourage people to participate in their ventures, and Bitcoin seems to be one way to do that. It's a gamble of trying to solve puzzles to get money, and those money are in Bitcoins. I think right now, hopefully it doesn't take off because it looks like it's too risky, unlike our dollar, which depends on exchanges with countries and agreeing on a value. The value of the Bitcoin fluctuates very drastically. It's even worse than buying stocks or bonds. But these things have to do with our transactions that we're doing on a day-to-day basis. But it also has to do with how do we shop. When we have many ways of buying things, part of it is, well, if you just go out to a local store, you have issues that are now taking place that have to do with security, at the same time intrusion into our privacy. Stores are now doing point of purchase video surveillance and monitoring our cell phones to say, okay, this person wants to buy these sort of things. We'll keep track of that, and we'll help them make decisions as they go along. At the same time, though, that says that they're tracking us from a commercial standpoint, not government, but just commercial. And so this gives us a question of how much do I want them to know what I'm buying? The other is the Internet itself, where we buy through companies like Amazon, and now all the major stores also have websites where you can make your purchases. And I think we have to realize that every time we make one of these purchases, it's telling the manufacturer or the distributors what it is we're doing with our money. And so that, again, gives us a question of how secure are they keeping this data, or are they providing it to other manufacturers and other stores to help themselves market themselves and also to try and get more clientele, if you will.
It can be pretty scary when you look at it because, I mean, we're in this world where everything is so convenient now. And you had mentioned, a lot of us are using plastic or we're purchasing on the Internet and our information's there. But at the same time, we have to kind of change with the times, and that's how things are developing, is that, a lot of us shop online. So what do you think, Henry, is the way forward? How can we use technology and take advantage of all of the benefits, but at the same time protect ourselves?
Well, again, this part has to do with your own recognition that data that you're providing can be used, I won't say against you, but to help someone else think they know what you want. So you have to use your own judgment in terms of what data you provide. Obviously, we do shopping and so forth. We need to keep in mind that all of these other things are around us and that we just need to keep smart in terms of what it is we do. In terms of credit cards, I think we're going to have to push for a smarter way of maintaining security. I think we're going to have to continue to work with our government to see what it is they think they can help protect us against. It may be a groundswell that says how far we're going to go with some of these things. So it's a ticklish question. Technology, you're right, has got us to the point where we are communicating an awful lot in a media that's not protected. It's meant to help us communicate. Well, it's got its own shortcomings then. One of the other things I want to bring up in technology and physical shopping is what's been called NFC communications. That means near-field communications. In other words, we have our phone, we wave it in the air, it picks up the fact that it's our phone, and it helps us make a transaction. Well, here's another question of vulnerability and security. How secure is that? The transaction may be encrypted, but give these guys a chance out there to try and prove they can intercept it and take data. Well, we're going to have to worry about that too. So I don't think there's a single answer. It's perseverance on our own. We've got to monitor our own credit, keep track of our credit cards and what's transpiring there. As I mentioned from my own experience, I've had a case where before I was not notified by the credit company there was a fraudulent transaction. I was looking at my credit cards to see where I was, and I noticed something that couldn't have been mine. So I need to do that because of the fact that that's probably, we know if someone steals from our house, but that gets into another question of maintaining security in our home. But we need to be aware of the fact that once we've made a transaction, it's the internet, you need to keep track of your emails. If you do internet transactions, keep track of your credit cards. And the credit card companies are helping. I know that in my case that they noticed a fraudulent transaction, or they noticed a transaction that exceeds a certain amount, that they notify me. And I think that's something, again, everyone should do, is to put a limit so that they tell you if something's been transpired. We could probably suffer a few dollars or tens of dollars, but if we want to watch out for something that exceeds our budget, that we would not expect to have something there. Or if we do it, let us know. Then that's a test that, in fact, they're monitoring.
Let's take a break now, because after the break, I'd like for us to talk about the technology and how it can help with security within our homes as well. I'm Lucy, and my guest today is Henry Halladay. We'll be back straight after the commercial break.
Hey, Kate, how's things with the new business?
Oh, hey, John. Thanks for asking. It's going really well. Hang on a minute. I just got to retweet something a new client just said.
You know, I just don't understand how you have so many followers, not to mention the likes on your Facebook page.
And I can't even get over the hits on my website, too. You know, everything's going great, but I'll tell you something, John. I'm not doing it alone. You want to know the answer?
Of course I do. I want a successful business like yours.
All Pro Media Group.
Huh?
It's a full-service marketing and PR company that assists businesses of all sizes. Basically, what they do is transform your business into a brand through their marketing and network connections. John, imagine having a personal campaign designed just for you and then being able to reach hundreds of thousands of potential clients and business professionals worldwide. Just go to allpromediagroup.com for more information, and you could be reaching the next level of success too.
Kate, you're the best.
No, I'm not. All Pro Media Group is.
ATS Computers. They're a full-service technology company open since 1994, servicing commercial and residential clients. They strive on their reputation with the community. Their website is www.atscomptech.com, and their number is 631-474-4674. Where can you buy unique and beautiful gifts that will be remembered forever? What can you buy the friend who has everything? Well, it's simple, and it's only a click away. Just go to rageandeden.co.uk for a selection of worldwide Gothic and fantasy art from world-leading artists. Choose from the exquisite figurines, chic jewelry, amazing prints, or even one of the trendy t-shirts that are bound to make a statement wherever you go, even if it is just to the local supermarket. Visit rageandeden.co.uk. Every garden has a corner in the shade.
855-451-MOVE.com. Their name is their number, 855-451-MOVE. They are a full-service local and long-distance moving company based out of Suffolk County, New York. Their number is their name. They hold an A+ with the BBB and have been open for over 5 years. Their website is www.855-451-MOVE.com.
You're listening to APMG Radio with my special guest, Henry Halladay. So, Henry, before the break, we were talking about privacy and how technology is having this impact on the sort of information that is accessible to people out there. Now I want to move within our homes and how to use technology to help with security. And I know you've got some experience in this field, so tell us a little bit about what you've done in your own home.
Okay. Thanks, Lucy. What's happening in our homes is that we now have an ability to provide us safety and security both when we're in the home itself and also when we're outside the home. I think that there's two aspects here. One is from a burglary or fire or other kinds of alarming that we may want to have. The other has to do with personal safety. Both are important and have ways of being implemented that everyone should give some thought to, not only from a flexibility standpoint, but from a dollar standpoint. The new and the old ways of doing things are, one, a special security system that you buy through specialized vendors. The other is a monitoring system with security, taking advantage of new Internet connectivity. Even when you do that, there's a question of, do you want to pay a vendor to come in and do the installation, or do you want to do it yourself and participate a little bit more directly in the technology that's involved with both of those? These are things that one should keep in mind, and it's changing with respect to what it costs, what's available. I think one of the important things that is affecting the senior population, which I include myself, is, do I want to have a separate system in case I have an accident, a fall, or something else? And there's two ways to do that I see right now. One is to have a system which talks to your local Wi-Fi. That's the wireless technology that's taking place in the home and businesses that we connect to, but that you must be close within 20 or 30 feet of that connectivity for it to be effective. Or two, just a specialized cell phone that all you use is for emergencies. There is a cost in either case. One is that connection to a service, but I think that each person has to give some thought to how effective is that. I've decided that I can get by with a $20 a month charge just in case that I need some help from someone and my children aren't close or someone else. And whether I'm outside or inside, I want to have that connectivity. But again, it's something that personally everyone's got to look into. And that part of that has to do then with the sensors that people have within their house. We've all been warned about having fire alarms, smoke alarms, carbon dioxide alarms. And these can be either something that we get our own internal warning, or the two can be linked in with a system outside the home, either through our smartphones or other connectivity, so that we know what's happening. Sometimes we can have a water break, we can have smoke that we're not home to see, or carbon monoxide has also become an important parameter, especially we have animals that can't take care of themselves. We want to know what's happening to those. So these are kind of connections that you can now assess on how much do you want to afford. Do you want to link in with other Internet connections that you might have with respect to your television and telephone systems through our local companies which do that and can provide an added system at the cost, Or do you want to have something that's more private, like your own single, like a child monitor, or an alarm that talks to your own wireless service? These are things that are taking place now in technology and gives us more choices, but again, it's more decisions that we have to make that affect our own personal lives. With respect to this, I have implemented a video system in my home that started years ago that had to do with wanting to know what is happening. Our house does not have a direct view of the street through windows, so I wanted to put a camera to know what was happening in my driveway and direct street, and from a security standpoint, but also a safety standpoint. We also had an outdoor cat that would come around and look for food or want to come in when it was rainy out, and I wanted to know where that cat was, if there was some reason that we should pay attention to it. I initially thought that using digital video recording, the DVR, with cameras was a good way to go, and this was before we really had strong internet connectivity to the rest of the world, and particularly our implementation of smartphones, which can connect to our home. I implemented a couple of DVRs, each with 4 cameras, partially to divide my home into what was in front and what was in back. And these could be also, I didn't want them too far away from the cameras because the cabling that had to be strung was something that's important. You'd say, well, why didn't you use wireless cameras? Well, that brings another point. I tried wireless cameras, but when you have a number of the same camera working with the same vendor that are too close to each other, you have potential interference. And what happens is that one camera may drop out, and the only way to get it back on is to reconnect it to the wired system. That's not true with a DVR, but they're all hardwired anyway. There's more wireless now, but one has to be careful if you have a number of cameras on whether or not they can keep track, and you want it there all the time. You don't want to be out away from your home, and all of a sudden it's down because it interfered with what another wireless camera is doing. So it's a trade there. But for individuals who just want 1 or 2 wireless cameras in different parts of their home, that's good. But it also says that those wireless cameras must not be interfered with walls and other electronics, which may be in the close proximity. And so maybe some more testing that you have to worry about when you do go wireless. But anyway, after I had taken these DVRs, and I went through at least a couple technology implementations, and after I got better internet in my home, I was able to expand those 4 cameras per region to 8 on each side. So that gave me 16 cameras, which gave me a pretty good view of what was taking outside my home. And it certainly in this case was well beyond that which the local companies wanted to have, because it gets more dependent on you're having a good internal communication, both wireless-wise and wired in your own home. And so I said, well, this is going all well and good, but what if someone gets past one camera and gets inside? Well, then it said I better have some cameras inside that are keeping track of what's taking place. And the advantage of the cameras now with the new Internet protocol is that you can set up regions for alarming. So it doesn't have to be a global system. It can be set up for particular areas of the home, especially if you have pets. One of the issues that's always been with alarms from a typical alarm system that focus on motion is that they may be set off by pets or birds or cats or wherever else that you don't want to. Well, the newer technology allows us to do spot zoning so that if a person walks through, you can know that that person is going to be a certain height, and it's unlikely they're going to try and crawl down your hall. So you can set up various conditions And the other advantage is rather than have an alarm that automatically calls the police, is you can set these up now so that they talk to the internet. And once they do that, that means that applications on your smartphone or iPad or things that connect to the internet gives you availability to watch what's happening in your home when you're not there. And they can send either audible or email alerts to tell you that, hey, something's happening, and let you be the judge on whether that means that you need to take quick action, call the police, or what it is that needs to be done. Sometimes it may be a false alarm, and at least you're not triggering the police to come to your house because a cat or a bird or something else tripped a volumetric alarm. So I think that doing it yourself like I have has given me an opportunity to watch the technology advance, take advantage of opportunities with respect to particular alarms and means that I have monitoring it. But sort of my lessons learned sort of say, well, total home security can be achieved with no monthly fee, all right, but it's going to take more of your involvement with implementing such a system. But I think it would also give you more satisfaction of your knowing that you're seeing or doing what it is that you want with respect to your own home. If you only want one or two cameras, that's pretty easy to do, and I don't think that it's much technology has to be carried forward or much physical labor is involved with doing that, other than getting a wireless router in your house to go to your internet connection. But most people are doing that anyway with respect to laptops. They'll connect up in their home wirelessly to a wireless router. Certainly we know companies that are doing this. Xfinity is one. A tailored video system offers more protection because you put it in how you want to have it, but it also gives you the same versatility but more personal involvement. So we want to make sure that you think about this ahead of time before you make a step, but you can always back out of your own step and say, hey, it's too much work, I want to get someone else to do it, and make that appropriate decision. Adopting early technology, I can certainly say is not cheap, but it's valuable in terms of you're keeping up to speed with the trades that are coming on the market, the things you want to do. It gives you a chance to learn the new technology in the comfort of your own home, and at the same time learn what about new issues are coming up, and also the trades you may want to make in your own decisions.
Now, Henry, we are coming to the end of the show, and I think you've left the listeners with a great deal of information and advice for them to consider, because I think this always comes across in our shows is that technology is fantastic and it's wonderful. Sometimes we can be overwhelmed with it, but if we do our research and if we're informed about what's happening, it's such an amazing thing, and there are so many advantages to incorporate it, and not only into our own lives, but like you said, into our homes, into everything that we're doing. So tell us on our next show what the listeners can expect to hear and what we'll be discussing.
Okay, I think we want to talk a little bit more about the technology in our homes that has to do with instrumenting our homes to know what's going on, to get involved with the different ways that we have entertainment. We also want to look at outside our home, what we have for technology in our recreation, our safety, and our learning.
Excellent. And how can people contact you if they have any questions?
They can certainly email me at henryhalladay@earthlink.net, or they can go to my website, which we're still building, of henryhalladay.com.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. It's great having you on the show, and I look forward to our next one together.
I appreciate your help and guidance.
You've been listening to APMG Radio with my special guest, Henry Halladay. This show and many others can be found at allpromediagroup.com. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm Lucy, and you've been listening to APMG Radio.
or Pro Media Group Radio showcases professionals on a daily basis. Be inspired and listen to experts from around the globe share their